37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
What's up, everybody? This is Pixelated Paranormal, episode number 69. I was hoping we'd get through that with not one giggle, but we're children. Episode 69, Cryptid Encounters number 4. And I know last time I promised or teased the Jersey Devil, but I didn't tell you guys.
You're a fucking liar.
I didn't tell you guys, but I've got this weird thing, and I may have talked about it before. I call it seasonal insomnia. And every year, right around the time, October, November rolls around and daylight savings is coming, I get this weird bout of insomnia that lasts for about a week. And it's not pretty. Like, I will sleep maybe 2 hours a night for, about 7 days straight. And then my brain just starts to feel like mush. And everything kind of slows down and kind of feels like one giant reoccurring nightmare.
Mm.
And with that, like, that's shitty enough. I didn't really have the concentration to do the Jersey Devil deep dive like I want to. And then I had that poster to do for Horror Fest, and it went very well, like incredibly well. And then I had to kind of make a mad dash to make a secondary poster. And through all that, I just didn't have the time to do Jersey Devil. So we'll jump on that next time. But I'm going to kind of take the back seat tonight and let you boys up front. And I'm just going to kind of hang loose, I think.
Sweet.
Which will be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think we got any really big announcements up at the top, do we? Nothing. We kind of covered that last time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sweet. Cool. Well, we'll just go ahead and jump right into it then and waste no time getting after it. Steve, why don't you start off with what you wanted to say?
Cool. So I recently came across this awesome book. It's called The Field Guide to North American Monsters. Everything you need to know about encountering over 100 terrifying creatures in the wild by W. Hayden Blackman. And it's pretty awesome because this is all about cryptid shit in North America. Like everything you'd want to know. It's pretty awesome because every time we do one of these, I can just open this and just read from the book. So, yay.
It's a fucking monstrous book too, isn't it? It's huge.
Let's see how many pages it has here, Shawn. Oh my God, it's even got a notes section in the back. In case you were to go
That's nuts.
hunting yourself.
You told me that Aaron had that and you were excited to see it. And I was thinking it's going to be like a little,
oh my God,
not even a centimeter thick, little book.
So
and it's like a fucking compendium.
Yeah, it's 250 pages. And at the end of it, it's like, so you want to be a monsterologist? And it goes through like all these tips. And then in the back, there's an appendix. Appendix A, sample questionnaire. Witness data, name, age, and sex, occupation. Describe the details of the sighting, including time, date, and location of sighting, terrain, weather conditions. This is hilarious. Did you ingest any form of alcohol, medication, or drug prior to the sighting? Are you in good physical and mental health? Like, here's like a questionnaire and ask people, are you fucking insane? Like,
are you fucking insane?
For flying monsters only.
Are you high
How
or
far
drunk?
above the ground was the monster observed? Like, this is ridiculous. But another cool thing is that every one of these cryptids, it says there's vital statistics, and it's basically like the height, the weight, and then at the very bottom it has.
Did you just say weight?
Wait, did I? Wait.
I think you said height and weight.
Yeah, there you go. And then at the very bottom it has a scale of 1 to 5, not Boykins, but actual cryptid little like skulls or some shit. And basically the 1 would be like the likelihood of you seeing it, and 5 being pretty high. So I don't think any of these have 5 because I think some of it. Oh, there's one right there, skimming through it. The chupacabra. I mean, really, you could just go down to South Broadway and walk down the street and probably see one, but won't go there.
I don't know if we can trust that book, Steven, because it doesn't use the Boykin scale, so you might have to get rid of it.
Yeah, no shit. I wonder how many listeners out there wonder, like, what the fuck are they talking about when it comes to Boykin scale?
What's a Boykin?
Yeah.
I think by now they just quit questioning it and just roll with it.
Yeah, everybody's just using it in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, maybe we should explain that, though.
Maybe you should back a little bit away from your microphone, Preston.
Is this better?
I think so. Yeah, it just sounds. You get that weird like crackly PA system blowout whenever you get excited and deep throated.
Damn, this is episode 69, blowout and deep throat. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, this book is pretty badass. Aaron had it, and she's like, "Oh, you got to use this for the show." So as soon as I got it,
Shit, yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my god, I've got the most flex in the group now." So
Hell yeah, because I asked if you wanted to knock out the Dover Demon, and you just sent us like a screenshot of that book. You're like, "Fuck yeah, boys, it's in the book."
yeah, it is. It's crazy. Preston's not on there obviously because his isn't in North America, but the one you were going to do until you failed miserably.
Yeah.
is in the book, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. So what I'll do is if you're whenever we do the next episode, as long as we do the cryptid stuff, we'll like if there's something in the book that you didn't mention or he didn't mention, it'll all tie in together. It's pretty cool.
Shit, yeah, you can be a resident intern, fact checker.
Yeah, pushes up the glasses.
Right. Hell yeah. It's awesome, man. That's cool, man. Thank Aaron again for us for getting that book into the mix.
Sure. Pretty sweet.
All right, man. We'll start off with the news, dude. What do you got?
Cool. Well, so as we've said in the past, we don't like try to be political on this show. We want to respect everybody's beliefs and everything like that. So with this and all the things that I say with it, it's all like on the good, so to speak. So as everybody knows, well, most people know, they did one of their first. Everybody's familiar with the Amber Alert on the phones. So if a kid goes missing in the area of your carrier, they will send an Amber Alert over your phone. That's like a loud beep, and then it'll give you the details of the child last seen, make and model of the car, person possibly having them, and then some information about the child. This past week, we actually had what they call a presidential alert. Now, what that is that it's the feds that have set this up with the help of the entire government, but it's the first emergency message to test cell phones. So say like something unfortunately happened with a terrorist attack or some crazy disaster, whether it be like something EMP or I don't know, who knows. This is something that they could send to all phones. They were testing it. It didn't go to everybody's cell phones, just select carriers, and who knows how they tested it.
Supposedly the rumor was you had to have your data turned on to receive messages off of Wi-Fi or some shit. Because I know two people who didn't get the message.
Mm-hmm. So
did you get it, Presto?
Yeah, I was on my lunch and was listening to a podcast, really getting into the story, and all of a sudden it was like, presidential alert. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah. And it's really weird. Yeah, it doesn't really give. I mean, it didn't really. I don't know. I'm reading about it right now. Who pushed the button? If you're picturing a red button inside a glass box or a fire alarm style handle on a wall, this isn't that. FEMA officials use a device that's very similar to a laptop computer. So yeah, basically, my thing is another thing is like, so as soon as this happened, I read about it the day before, and that's the conspiracy theorist in my opinion. Like, okay, like this is a pretty big deal, like, right? I mean, don't you guys think like to me it's a big deal. Like, this is something that it's a new thing. I think it's a good thing in a way because I was talking to some elderly people about this, and like, okay, in their generation, they're still on the news every night. They watch the 5 o'clock news. They watch the 10 o'clock news. They watch the 7 o'clock. Like they're all about that. Yeah. Our generation and even the younger generation never watch TV. We've cut the cord. We don't we don't stream news sites at all. We're usually on Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, in our phones all the time. Now, where we are in our political climate right now with news, people feel that like some stations are biased, some stations don't. They tell fake news, blah blah blah. So I think this is a good thing. It's just really weird that they're like, all right, Wednesday we're gonna test this. It's like, you're telling us on Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, to me, this would be a thing where they're like, okay, we're gonna set this up within the next month, and we'll let you know when it's gonna be. But there's like no hearing of this at all. So I think that's kind of weird.
Right.
Another thing. Well, what a stupid. Okay, hold on. Go ahead. What were you
Okay, I
gonna
was
say?
to say, I wonder if maybe dropping the hint way late might have been smart, because if you give people like the preconceived notion of, hey, we're going to drop, a countrywide alert from the president across cell phones, if you give people enough time, they could probably hack into that infrastructure and figure out how to change the message or stop it or hack into it
But
somehow.
here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad you talked right before you did that. This alert has absolutely nothing to do with the President of the United States at all. And
Yeah.
why they would name it. Yeah. why why would they fucking name it the presidential alert? I don't understand that. The people that are putting this in place is FEMA. They handle all the
Mm-hmm.
emergency response stuff, right? In the country. Every
Mm-hmm.
disaster we have, everything like that. Why would you name it the presidential alert when you know the climate we're in right now? You know
Well, I
people will
think.
run with shit. You know people will theorize that
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
man in the White House is using this to get into people's phones to sway votes, to sway political agenda. Like no, like
Yeah.
but people automatically think that like he's sitting at his desk and he's typing this message. First off, it would be misspelled. Second off, it has nothing to do with the president. And like I just don't
Yeah.
like I think about like because I was thinking about like like with this tying into like what happens if aliens, like some big massive ship was overseeing
Right.
Montana in the mountains and people were like freaking out. They could use that for this possibly, like something like that.
Yeah.
But it's really weird to see that this come out and everything. I don't know. It's mostly the reason why I want to bring it up is because of the conspiracy theorist type thing, like when it comes to
Yeah.
weird shit, like I don't know, man.
Well,
Like,
let me say something really dumb to make a really good point. Um, you remember like years ago, speaking of, our parents and our grandparents watching the news all the time.
mm-hmm.
In the past, when shit's really hit the fan on a global scale, you've had news break-ins, like you're watching your soaps at like,
Mm-hmm.
1:45 in the afternoon, and all of a sudden here's, Richard Nixon and, we're going to war, folks, and blah, 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 blah. Like that was the same exact thing as his text message was yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to come on the news and be like, guys, I'm really sorry, but, North Korea has threatened us and there are rockets inbound. Like a third of the population's watching TV. So if you can treat it more like an Amber Alert and you could hit everybody that way, like people are going to pay attention. Everybody our age and younger will get that message. So if I like to
Yeah,
think that
exactly.
it's a test run to make sure the system works, because I've heard there's ways to turn off Amber Alerts and stuff like that on your phones, So maybe people have probably deactivated that. So this could have been a way for them to test out another program that can kind of piggyback on top of the Amber Alert system and get through everybody's firewalls or, your personal settings. But if
Mm-hmm.
here's the dumb part, if you watch the most recent season of American Horror Story, it's about Armageddon and the apocalypse, and everybody's out just like doing their thing, getting their macchiatos and getting their, nails done and stuff. And all of a sudden everybody gets these warnings on their phone like, oh shit, there's 1 hour until, nuclear winter, so to speak. So, I mean, it's funny, but that's the kind of shit we're dealing with right now.
And this show that episode happened before this thing.
Yeah, it happened. It was the
Wow,
first
it's so
episode. I
weird.
think we're on episode 4 now.
Yeah, it's
But,
crazy.
I mean, I think it's important just to note, and it was an important thing for them to test out to make sure it would work too.
Mm-hmm.
But
I just wish they
I
would
don't
have
know.
made
It's
something
interesting.
different, man.
Well, and not to
It-
spread mass hysteria, but it also makes you
Yeah,
wonder, like, if we're testing that out now, like, should we be more concerned?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's an ounce of
And
what
I've
do they
also
say, an
heard
ounce
from
of
I've
prevention.
also heard from some of the supporters of Trump and stuff saying that like that's one of the things he's been big on is preparing more for things like that and like getting information to people better, whereas
Yeah.
because that needs to be updated. So I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's something he's in for, then I mean I think that's smart. I mean you look at some of these national disasters that happen, and I think that the media has been pretty good, and especially weather channels and stuff about like, look, you need to get out, you need to go to shelter, you need to abandon your place. And some people are like,
Yeah.
I don't have anywhere to go, I'm not going to leave my stuff behind. And then unfortunately, they might lose their life, and so
Oh,
this is
yeah,
another one
dude.
of them things that they could basically pinpoint an area of, say rural Texas, in this area where there could be a possible hurricane damage. Pinpoint that, send that alert to them people. It makes sense. I ain't tripping about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting nonetheless, dude. And it's, I don't know, it's important to keep an eye out for warnings in case terrible shit's going to happen. And I'm going to use that as a segue because the woman in my next news story is really wishing that somebody gave her a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys hear about this chick who was at the Ryder Cup and when she got hit in the eyeball by a fucking rogue golf ball?
That's insane.
Aw.
Wait, is there a video?
There might be. So last week, a woman sustained horrible injuries. I'm not laughing. This is really sad. I'm laughing because Preston just fucking giggled like a lunatic. Last week, a woman was at the Ryder Cup, watching as we all do. And something I've always wondered, watching golf on TV, like the 3 times I've ever done that, is a fucking golf ball is basically a glorified tiny missile when it's launched,
Like a bullet.
Are people guaranteed not to get hit, or do they hang up like little nets that we can, we don't normally see? How do they stop that shit from happening? Well, this 49-year-old woman from France was watching the Ryder Cup in the audience, and she got hit in the eyeball by a golf ball so hard that her eye literally exploded on impact, and she went blind instantly.
Damn.
Yep.
That's crazy shit.
It's insane, dude. It's really insane. Her name was Corinne Ramandy. She's French, so I'm probably pronouncing it terribly wrong. But basically, she says there was no warning about the incoming ball, meaning all those people gathered in the crowd were at risk of being struck, not just her. She says they did not shout "for," which is, of course, the golf warning of, heads up, to make a show. The organizers moved the tees forward on the 6th hole to allow the big hitters to reach the green in just one shot. So that's kind of shitty too. We talk about promotions and getting really big ratings on TV. They moved the tees up farther, closer towards the hole so people could hit them long drives.
She gonna get paid.
Now, without warning the spectators, the public cannot see the players and anticipate and protect themselves. That's why I'm angry. We have now filed a complaint in order to have answers to our questions to challenge all the organizers on behalf of the safety of the public as a whole. The organizers of the Ryder Cup have insisted that sufficient warning was given to spectators, but have released a statement expressing their concern and apologies for Raimondi. Our deepest sympathies continue with Madame Raimondi and her family. Brooks Coipa, who's the guy who hit the ball, says he's heartbroken about the incident and has contacted the family. We take our responsibility for the fans' safety extremely seriously, and we have been in regular contact with the family since the accident to offer our support, and we will continue to do so. Millions of spectators attend and enjoy golf events every year. Incidents of this severity are extremely rare. Our safety of our spectators is our paramount concern, and this will continue to be the case. And then, of course, he says in a tweet, "I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah." I just wonder, when you say I'm offering my support, what do you mean my support? Thoughts, warms and fuzzies and shit like that? Or financial support? Sorry, you're blind for the rest of your life. I will pay you hush money every month.
No, the first one. I mean, we do it on Facebook all the time. Whenever somebody says something
Hashtag
bad's
thoughts and
happening.
prayers.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers, hugs.
Now
that's all you got. Damn,
right,
asshole.
And this is a shitty commentary on just the public in general. Raimondi went on further to say, "What shocked me was the spectators were taking pictures of me. No one was calling for help. No one was trying to do anything." She says also that she was afraid of being trampled while she was on the ground as the crowd was gathering to get ready for Tiger Woods to step up and take his shot. "I don't know how to live with only one eye. I like walking, sport, and going to the gym and playing golf." So
now
that's fucking nuts.
At these places, was she surrounded by paparazzi and reporters and shit?
I don't know. I mean, there's paparazzo there. watching,
Yeah.
you know.
Because them pulling out their cameras like that's a news story for them. But let's be honest, dude.
Yeah.
People are fucking shitty anyway. And they're
Right.
probably going to be like, oh, look, this is crazy. Like, I guess what's crazy is that if, like, think about that. A golf ball being hit by somebody, flying in the air, hard as shit.
Right.
Like, or not hard, fast as shit.
Yeah.
And, like, hitting her eye. Like, what are the odds of that? It could have hit her leg, her chest, back of her head, but, like, it hit her fucking eyeball. Like, the odds of that happening is insane. And that eyeball could have fucking went into her, like, broke her skull and, like, punctured her skull to their brain, or even hit her brain through the eyeball. Like, that's fucking, that's just with that force. Like, that's crazy as shit. But yeah, she's going to get paid, man. Like, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially, like, court battles, if they can prove that they moved it up so they could get better camera shots and stuff instead of, you know, putting safety first. Like,
yeah. Well, and you know, anytime you're at a gas pump or at a shopping mall and a fist fight goes down or crazy shit, nobody ever runs in to intervene. It's always fucking World Star. And, you know, they pull out their fucking cell phones and record that shit. And, you know, we used to have a problem with the bystander effect. Nobody wanted to help because they were in shock and they were also scared of being, you know, blamed.
Yeah.
Now nobody wants to help because they want to fucking get that shit on Facebook and be the first person to hit 100 views and 1 million views and likes on their fucking YouTube pages.
I'd like to think, like, I mean, I've been a first responder to accidents. I'm first aid trained, CPR trained, and I've went in without thinking of things, seeing people get in car wrecks and being the first person to stop, and like it's crazy. Now, when it comes to like fighting and arguments, I try not to get into that because I do fear the whole like people are crazy these days and carry weapons. Sometimes people carry weapons that that aren't afraid to use them, whether they're justified or not. So, and also like if I hear an argument going down or some kind of disrespect going down, and I'm like, the person deserves to get their fucking ass beat, let it roll out. You know, but
that's why I live my. What's that?
So goddamn Optimus Prime, but like, but when it comes to something like this, like that's clearly a freak accident, and like, you don't want a bunch of people like. Okay, so video to me isn't always a bad thing, especially in thing like this, because then they can gather evidence that way.
Sure,
and they can see things from different angles, see shit like that. So that's great. But like when you clearly know that this is like a medical emergency, you also don't want a bunch of people responding at the same time.
Sure.
Like part of being a first aid responder and CPR is like you announce that you are. So people will be like, okay, he or she's trained for this. Let's roll with that person, and they have bystanders set by in case they need a hand with something or to direct medical attention to the person, shit like that. But yeah, everybody wants views. Everybody wants to go viral. So everybody needs that clout.
People are nuts, and it's a scary time. And that's why I live my life by the top 5 things every man should have on them at all times from GQ magazine. And one of those is a knife. GQ magazine says every man should have a knife on them at all times. A simple, small, foldable pocket knife. So, folks, be packing.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, I do keep a little
buck knife on me all the time.
Well, that's because you're a hillbilly Mason. I don't keep a fucking buck knife
on
me. Does the hilt have like a wolf head on it too?
No.
Oh my god, it would be.
It's just like an old-fashioned
the hilt has the
buck
head of a
knife,
wolf with a fez on it.
Oh my god,
that'd be pretty badass.
That would be pretty funny.
No, I mean that's true. Like I think you ought to be packing a knife at all times. Like the other day, I was doing some stuff and we were hanging some things. I forget where I was at, and the guy I was with is like, I forgot a pair of scissors. You happen to have a knife on you? And I'm just like, I sure as hell do. Always be the guy in the room with the ink pen, and always be the guy in the fight with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, I think the lady who got hit in the eye by the golf ball probably could have used a stiff drink, and that takes us on to our next story. In Minnesota right now, there's a case of a lot of wild birds getting fucking shit-faced drunk in public right now. So, of course, birds eat berries. That's a fact. And in this town in Minnesota, due to the early onset frost setting in, a lot of berries are fermenting early. And so several flocks of these birds are eating the fermenting berries and getting piss drunk and wandering around the public and harassing people. Last Tuesday, the police department posted a notice on Facebook warning citizens that it has received several reports of birds that appear to be under the influence, flying into car windows, flying into cars, flying into windows, and acting confused. That's sad.
It's like they're just sloppy and clumsy.
Yeah. Apparently the birds are
Boyds.
the birds. What'd you say, Preston?
The Boyds.
The Boyds. Apparently the birds are getting boozed up from berries that fermented earlier than normal. Matthew Daughter, a self-described bird guy.
This guy, he loves it. He's finally getting his 5 minutes. He's been waiting the whole time.
They said I could be anything I wanted to, and I wanted to be a bird guy.
I like how they just quote it. Bird guy.
Bird guy. Matthew Daughter, self-proclaimed bird guy in Palo Alto, California, told the Washington Post that since there's no such thing as a birdie breathalyzer, you have to look at their in-flight behavior to the level of aviation intoxication. Quote, they'll be flying kind of erratically. We typically see them flying lower than usual through traffic. They're just careless and they're not looking for cars or obstacles. He said robins, cedar waxwings, and thrushes are the bird species most likely to tie one on since they eat more berries than other species. They just get sloppy and clumsy. They have actually fallen out of trees on occasion. Well, haven't we all, folks?
Oh my God, that's crazy.
The Gilbert Police Department post said that the birds will likely sober up soon after the fermented berries are all eaten and ask locals not to call unless they see angry birds laughing and giggling uncontrollably and appearing to be happy.
Yeah. That's awesome. They also said,
That's awesome.
they also
Those
said,
bastard crows that eat it, I think we'll be okay because they're already dicks enough. They don't
Yeah.
get
Dude,
drunk on top of
Crows are savage and more intelligent than Labrador retrievers.
here's some more things that Gilbert Police Department said. They said Heckle and Jekyll walking around being boisterous or playing practical jokes. Woodstock pushing Snoopy off the doghouse for no apparent reason. The Roadrunner jumping in and out of traffic on Main Street. Big Bird operating a motor vehicle in an unsafe manner. Tweety, you already did that. And any other birds after midnight with Taco Bell items.
I love the fact that most of these police departments have Twitter now.
Yeah, and they
It
do
is amazing.
to do like little
just quips.
like little quips. Yeah,
But you know what? Like, fucking fair warning. On 420, I think it was in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah,
The
Lawrence
police
does
department
this
were
shit
like,
a lot.
guys,
Yeah.
it's April 19th. We suggest you go out and get all your Code Red and Doritos now because we're gonna have sobriety checks all through the city.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Hell yeah. Well, the last little bit of animal news we have quickly is apparently there's been an outbreak of monkeypox in the UK.
Ugh.
I've never heard of monkeypox, but if this photo that they've used is any indication, I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Back on the 1st of October, they said if you're a UK resident and have read certain headlines over the last few days, you may be wondering, what the hell is monkeypox and should I be worried? That's because 3 people in the UK have been admitted to a hospital with the virus in the last month alone. 2 people got the disease while in Nigeria, where there currently apparently is an outbreak as well. In a completely unrelated but coincidental case, so those were 2 completely coincidental, unrelated cases. The 3rd person was a healthcare worker who helped care for one of the patients at Blackpool Victoria Hospital. They're all being looked after by tropical disease specialists, which means they're going to be taken out back and probably burned alive. That's how you do containment. First things first, don't worry. British medical experts have confirmed that these cases aren't going to trigger a national outbreak, and Public Health England has said the general public is not at risk. The fact that only one of the 50 contacts of the initial monkeypox infected patients has been infected shows how poorly infectious the virus is, says Jonathan Ball, professor of molecular virology at the University of Nottingham in UK. Or it means the shit lies dormant for way too long and we're all figgity fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Royally fucked because it's in the UK.
Yeah,
There are two main
creepy.
strains of monkeypox, West African and Central African, and while there have been sporadic outbreaks across 10 African countries since the 1970s, it rarely crops up outside the continent. This is the first time it's been reported in the UK. Symptoms include fever, headache, an itchy rash that often appears on the face before spreading to other parts of the body, and like the chickenpox rash, it turns into blisters and then scabs over before it falls off, sometimes leaving scars. Other indications of monkeypox, you may crave bananas or throw your own shit at your own family. The illness usually the illness usually lasts between 2 and 3 weeks. Yeah, so there is that, guys. That is your news. So, we'll get into the main stuff here, guys. We're rocking and rolling. It's only been 30 minutes. We're getting to the good stuff.
Word.
Last time it took like an hour and a half, I think.
I want to do a quick shout out to
Do
my
it.
buddy Chad. He has just subbed and started listening. So yeah,
Oh, hell yeah. What up,
pretty
Chad?
awesome.
Thanks, Chad.
And he wants us. We put this thing out. I put it out
Yeah.
literally like an hour before we started recording. So people want like questions, things he wants to chat about. Our buddy Ryan says Theorosis Bridge in Valley Center, and I let him know that we've talked about that a little bit before. And Preston's done some investigating out there, so I would love to do like even if we just took a phone out there and recorded a little thing here or there, that'd be fun. It's really easy,
That would be cool.
close to us. And then our newest listener Chad says Dulce Base, DULC. Is that Dulce or what? You guys know about that yet?
Yeah,
Oh.
Dulce, New Mexico.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it looks to be pretty well written out, so we won't be able to hit it
Yeah.
today. but it has to do with
No, that's
UFOs, so I'm
fine.
cool with it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Dulce, New Mexico is a treasure trove of like weird activity and shit. And that's funny. Chad, that's something that I've actually had on my radar for a little while. And I definitely want to get into that sometime here in the future too. So that would be the shit. And thanks for listening, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I had somebody reach out to me as well, Tim, and Tim asked if we asked about butterfly people. And I know that was something we discussed way early on an early episode. Rob actually brought up the Joplin butterfly people, but I actually wanted to touch on those
Remember that.
again. We'll be doing an episode, I don't know how soon, probably in November maybe. We'll take a break from the cryptid stuff. And I'd like to do stuff about the fae folk, the wee folk, and talk more about like fairies and trolls and other mythical creatures that
Cool.
supposedly a lot of people have had encountered. So Tim, we'll definitely jump on the butterfly people too here pretty quick. So thanks for that.
Word. And Chad,
Word.
just think, man, you're a new listener, and now you're going to be protected from monkeypox. So
Right. Hell yeah. Well, we talked about doing the Jersey Devil, and through my annual psychosis, I'm not going to do that this episode, but we'll jump on it next time on our next scheduled episode. But what we are going to do is, Steve, you're going to hit up the Dover Demon for us. And then Presto, you're going to jump on the Vietnamese Night Flyers. But before we recorded this evening, I fell into a story of a man's firsthand account with a dog man. And that was something that, Steve, you brought up on the last episode. So I'll go ahead and share that tale with you guys real quick, because that's kind of a cool follow-up. First, I'm going to have a little sip of this coffee and rum that I'm nursing.
babysitting.
Take your time, boo. Take your time.
So, Steve, do you remember when you talked about the dogmen? Did that focus on Oklahoma at all?
No, mostly just that Michigan area.
So apparently in Oklahoma, there are dogmen sightings as well. And so the story that I read took place about 5-10 years ago, before people started carrying around like flat screen phones with them all the time. And this guy mentions he was like in his early 20s, 21, 22. And he and his two buddies go out on this camping trip, and they plan to like get this cabin, and you got a bunch of beer. They're going to start a little bonfire out there and just get shit-faced drunk, like, you know, as bros do in the country. And so They get in their cars and they drive out to this little cabin area. They start a fire, just, sit here and pound back the beers, talk about their glory days and shit like that. And then as it starts getting later, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, the guy kind of gets sobered up and he decides that, this isn't really that fun anymore. Like, I don't want to be hungover and sleeping in like a shitty sleeping bag or like on the floor of a cabin. So he tells the guys, hey, I'm going to head on back into town and go ahead and just sleep in my own bed. So he gets into his car, loads up his shit, and he takes off driving down a dirt road leading up to the highway. And in true horror story fashion, he gets, half a mile or so away from the highway, and all of a sudden his car starts kind of sputtering out and it dies. And so he can't get it to start back up. It's a manual, transmission. He's trying everything he can do to get it to start back up, and it just won't start. So he kind of idles or rather just kind of rolls off into the side of the road and kind of puts it in park on the shoulder off in kind of a ditch area. And he thinks, well, I'm clear out here in the middle of nowhere. I should probably just, hike back up to the highway and see if I can catch a ride or flag down like a highway patrolman or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he does what any good nerd would do, and he grabs the video game system that he has, puts it in its case. I don't know what it was. I'm assuming like a 3DS or something. And then, like any good survivalist, he has a homemade machete that he keeps in his back seat made from a lawnmower blade and probably like duct tape.
Called a sling blade around here.
Yeah. And so he grabs those things, man, Nintendo DS and machete in hand. And he just starts kind of hiking his way down the old dirt road towards the highway.
Should have been a switch. Rube.
Right. And so he starts to kind of get this weird, eerie feeling that like something might be stalking him. And he kind of gets that, the hair on the back of his neck's kind of tingling a little bit. And he's getting uneasy. And he's kind of doing the classic thing of like, no, nothing's following me. Everything's fine. I'm not out here on a creepy road by myself. And then this car comes up over the hill. And as the car comes up over the hill, the high beams light up the silhouette of something that looks like a giant dog up on, the high-rise part of this road.
Mm-hmm.
And so as the car comes closer, it illuminates this thing's head that he describes as being like a German shepherd's head, giant glowing amber eyes, huge hulking shoulders, and it's crouched down kind of like a man. It's got really muscular forearms and upper arms, and its feet he describes as being kind of like a raccoon's feet. And he's fairly close to this thing, probably, about 20 feet away. And the thing sees him, and he just gets fucking scared shitless and just freezes. And then, of course, as the car kind of gets closer to this dog, man, it kind of like just scuttles off into the high weeds and the high grass on the side of the road. And so this guy's like, well, that looks like a giant pile of no fucking way. And so he runs over to the other side of the road and tries to wave down the car, and the car's already gone by. And he's completely in the pitch black darkness again. And then he has what a lot of people describe as the Oz effect take over. And if you're not familiar with the Oz effect, what that is when you are by yourself or in a group of people and you're just out doing something in the middle of the woods or wherever, and all of a sudden you notice the birds stop chirping and the cicadas stop buzzing and everything gets dead quiet. That's known as the Oz effect. Yeah, that's nature's way of saying you done fucked up, son.
Yeah.
And everything goes quiet. He can't hear the wind anymore. He can't feel the leaves rattling. There's no more, bugs chirping. And he just says, fuck, and just takes off running as fast as he can. And then he gets closer to the side of the highway, and he can see kind of like a barn up ahead off in the distance. And next thing you know, a spotlight shines from this barn over onto the street where he's running. And he stops dead in his tracks like, oh fuck, am I in some guy's yard? Am I about to get shot? And he turns around, and this thing is standing there on all fours. And when the light shines on it, it stands up on its hind legs, more like a werewolf. And he describes the thing as looking more like the werewolf that what's his name on Harry Potter turns into?
Lupin.
Not Lupin, the other one. Wasn't there another werewolf?
Oh, the evil one, the
like Greybeard,
Greyback. Yeah.
Yeah, Fenrir Greyback.
Yeah.
He likens it. Oh, pun. He likens it to the werewolf off of Harry Potter. And it stands up and it takes a couple steps towards the guy. And then, of course, a sheriff's patrol car comes riding off of the highway onto the dirt road. And the headlights shine on the beast. It looks over at the cop, looks back at the guy. And he says it kind of sneers at him and then turns around and walks slowly into the tall weeds, gets down, and then bounds off into the night. And of course, the sheriff stops him, and he's like, I got reports of some weird guy walking down the highway or the dirt road by himself. And is that you, son? Are you okay? And he just fucking spills the beans. Like, holy shit, man, my car broke down like half a mile back there. I'm walking. I think there's some kind of large dog who's stalking me, blah, blah, blah. And so the cop takes him back to his car. They can't get the car started. And of course, he gets a ride back into town. And then now, of course, he's scared shitless to do any kind of camping on his own or drive down dirt roads. But yeah, that was in Oklahoma. And I thought that was kind of cool, man, because I thought that it was just a secluded story, like you said, Steve, up north. So kind of a fucking cool deal, man. So yeah, I thought that'd be a fun little follow-up and a little palate cleanser before you get into it, Steve. So without further ado, man, let us know what the hell's going on with this Dover demon.
All right, here we go. So the Dover demon, vital statistics, distinguishing...
Fucking nerd. You've got your Jurassic Park hat on, too. You're in it to win.
Oh, I forgot. You guys can see me when I'm recording this.
All right, sorry. Start over.
All right.
Vitals?
Yes, vital statistics. Distinguishing features: peach-colored skin, luminescent orange or green eyes, long fingers and toes, and a huge head. Height: only 4 feet. The weight: it's unknown. Range and habitat: Dover, Massachusetts. Population size: unknown. Diet: unknown. Behavior: the Dover demon wanders back roads at late at night on unknown errands. Like he's going to get groceries or something. It is easily startled.
I've got to mail this letter quickly.
Yeah. It is easily startled and quickly darts away from approaching humans. So, and then the accountant's meter of you actually seeing this or meeting this little demon is a 1 cryptology bird. So I think it looks
one
like
crypto
a bird.
boykin.
Yeah, 1 crypto boykin. So the book says that in April 21st, 1977, a 17-year-old boy named Bill Bartlett caught a bizarre-looking creature in the car's headlights while traveling a darkened road in Dover, Massachusetts. Bartlett and subsequent witness described the monster as a tiny creature with a head that vaguely resembles a watermelon sitting atop a thin neck. Creepy. It lacks ears, a mouth, or a nose. Sounds like an alien. And enormous eyes alternately glow orange and green. So it's largely hairless. It is covered in a rough peach-colored skin. Its toes and fingers are long and nimble, and it frequently travels on all fours, using its enormous hands and feet to help navigate even in the rockiest terrain. During the initial sighting, the monster stood in Bartlett's headlights for a moment, then disappeared into the shadows at the side of the road. I'm just picturing like signs in like the cornfields, like that shit.
Right.
You know, the alien like looking.
But it has a dopey look on its face.
Yeah. Yeah. Bartlett immediately sped past the scene, like who wouldn't? And 2 friends in their car, neither of whom had seen the monster, noted that Barrett was visibly shaken. After he confessed the sighting, they encouraged him to return to the scene, but they found no sign of the monster. In later interviews, Bartlett insisted that he and his friends had not been drinking that night, although they had smoked small amounts of marijuana prior to the encounter.
Hell yeah.
Just a few hours after the Bartlett sighting, 15-year-old John Baxter was walking home when he spotted a tiny figure in front of him. Mistaking the creature for a short friend... What? You just have a random 4-foot tall friend? Like,
hey, that's my friend Bill. He's just small.
Yeah,
midget.
That's hilarious. He called out to it, then gave chase when the entity fled. After pursuing the mysterious being down a steep embankment. I'm terrible at reading out of books, guys, so
you're all right.
Like I jumble my words, so sorry, listeners. He realized he was chasing a monster and fearfully backed away when he realized it wasn't his little 4-foot friend.
Wait, that's not Watermelon Head Ted?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Watermelon Head Ted.
He ain't got fingers like a squid.
Yeah, no shit.
Quick, Tommy, poke it with a stick.
Yeah, no shit. Both Baxter and Bartlett, who had not confirmed with each other, made sketches of the creature within hours of their respective sightings. The drawings were amazingly similar and consistent with later reports of the monster, which soon became known as the Dover Demon. On the following evening, sometime after midnight, the Dover Demon appeared again. On this occasion, there were two witnesses, Will Tainter, hilarious, 18, and his girlfriend, Abby Brabham, something like that, 15. Will, who had heard of Bartlett's encounter with the demon earlier that day, was driving towards Abby's home when the pair noticed a small figure crouched on all fours near the road. Both witnesses were certain it was not a naturally occurring animal, such as a cat or raccoon. You fucking think? Thing looks nothing like a cat or raccoon. Terrified, the couple sped to Abby's home, where they told her parents and authorities about the encounter. Soon after the teens came forward, investigators visited Dover in search of answers. Unfortunately, the Dover Demon failed to reappear for researchers scouring the area, and monsterologists have been left struggling with numerous questions about the beast. Most important, investigators have been unable to determine the Dover Demon's origins. UFOologists interested in the case still contend that Dover Demon is extraterrestrial, perhaps stranded on Earth or deposited on the planet to investigate human culture. Except for the monster's alien appearance, however, there is little evidence to support this theory. More recently, the Dover Demon has been linked to creatures known to the Native Americans as I'm going to butcher this, Meme-Guashi, a race of diminutive humanoids dwelling around the Great Lakes. But while the Meme-Guashi do have large heads, they are generally described as hairy and foul-smelling, traits the Dover Demon does not share. So what is this creature? While even the most experienced monsterologists are uncertain, it is most likely the Dover Demon is a member of an unidentified species that occurs naturally within the vast wilderness and enchanted backwoods of North America. Sadly, future meetings with the Dover Demon may be impossible. The creature has not appeared since its short-lived initial visit in Dover in 1977. Still, the monster has become a very real part of monsterology, cryptozoology, and ufology, and should not be forgotten. Its sudden appearance, coupled with its equally mysterious disappearance, raises far too many questions. So yeah,
It's a fucking alien.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like you look at the sketch, and we'll put that in the image companion. But like, it looks like an alien. Yeah, like it's weird. Really
Yeah.
creepy.
And what I read about it when I was younger was it had feet that were kind of like. You guys remember the movie War of the Worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those aliens had long, like tentacle-like fingers, and they had like almost like suction cups on the end of their fingertips.
Yeah. It kind of looks
So
like that
that's the way they likened his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And they said his feet had long tentacle-like toes with suction cups that would help it like grip onto rocks or wrap around tree trunks to climb trees. And its fingers on its hands were the same way. It's almost like an alien that has fucking octopuses for hands and feet.
Yeah. Creepy.
I'm just trying to mail my letter.
Oh.
Oh shit! Well, that's cool, man. It doesn't have any modern day sightings per se. There's tons of stuff online about like, oh, I took a picture of this thing running out my house when I got home. I heard something in the kitchen and I chased it outside.
It was just his 4-foot friend.
It's this old watermelon head Ted. Why do people keep chasing me when I'm trying to mail my letters at midnight?
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Oh,
thing
man.
looks. When you do a Google search for it, this thing looks like an alien. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's an alien, dude. It's totally an alien. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. Oh, yeah. Well, on our next cryptid encounter, we're gonna actually leave the shores of the good old U.S. of A. and head over to Vietnam, man. Because Presto, you got a fun one, I think, dude. I didn't even read your notes. I'm going into this shit blind because I'm just excited.
That's the way to do it, buddy.
right. So, tell us about the Vietnamese night flyer.
So this motherfucker can actually be seen in all corners of the world. Okay, so we're not just leaving America. We're going like from the USA to Africa to Java to Vietnam, India, South America. And I think quite possibly I discovered the true origins of the Vietnamese night flyer. I think in my youth I've spotted it.
Okay, perfect.
One of my brother's ex-wives.
One of your brother's ex-wives. How many brothers
Yeah.
do you have?
Oh, fuck. Well,
Or do you mean one of your brother's ex-wives, like he has multiple ex-wives?
oh yeah, he's got like 5. So
Okay, so
yeah.
we can dig you out of that hole a little ways.
Yeah. I mean, I knew what I wanted to say. I just didn't deliver. I'm sorry.
Hey, you're all right, buddy.
Yeah. Well, anyways, in Brazil, they're called the bat people. In Mexico, they're called the giant death bat. In the rainforest of Java, they call it the Ahool because it makes some weird, like, ooh, ooh noise when it, goes to attack people.
Woo.
Yeah.
Weed woo.
And in Vietnam, it's simply known as the night flyer. And in the Philippines, it is simply known as the manananggal or the tick-tick.
Ah.
Yeah. But let's not be done or outdone by the rest of the world because in America, it's called the bat squatch. And if we've learned one thing from last episode, it's if you can fuck it, Bigfoot will. And I swear to God, that's how we get the bat squatch, the sheep squatch, and all the other squatches out there, is because Bigfoot wants to stick his dick in just about anything.
And Sheep Squatch reached out to us on Twitter, actually.
That was amazing. Hang on a second. Put a pin in that, Preston. That was the best shit in the world, man.
Yeah, that was
'Cause
pretty funny.
Our Facebook is fairly active, but Facebook is a shit pile when it comes to promoting things. You can't promote anything as a business or public page without paying.
Mm-hmm.
That is just ridiculous and poppycock. We've got a Twitter. Twitter, I think, is just not quite. We don't use Twitter hardly at all.
Yeah, and it's hard to because we only have 5 following, 9 followers, and even on there when you do hashtags, I just find it so hard to break into Twitter. I think, in my opinion, Twitter's dying. It's died for me a long time ago. But
yeah,
I think that like a lot of people aren't really using Twitter like they used to, so it's kind of hard.
I think you're right. I mean, it's more to me like political and celebrity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think Instagram's kind of where it's at, but yeah, we for episode 68, you put the visual companion guide up on Twitter, and then like 3 or 4 days later, we get a tweet, and it's like from Sheep Squatch. It says, that doesn't look anything like me, jerk ass.
Hashtag Sheep Squatch. And if you go to that profile, it's basically somebody made a profile for Sheep Squatch, and it's got like a what's that? The vital statistics thing page for his banner. It says a crossover between a mutton and a man, huge woolly hair, white or dirty white, huge fangs, and a big dick. It's ridiculous. And like all his tweets are like redneck quote of the days. Like it's just it's clearly a parody account, but it's fucking hilarious. And I thought that was pretty cool.
We all fucking died that night. So sorry, Preston, we hijacked that, but go ahead, man. Sorry.
It's okay. Let's get back to brass tacks, okay?
Word.
So these winged humanoids are generally about 5 feet tall and with eerie feminine features, and they are known to swoop down on their victims and attack several times. So like, owls or bats, right?
Uh-huh.
They lurk in the darkest caves all over the world and will reportedly swoop upon their victims with claws and fangs. But where these guys really lurk is in myth and legends, as there are few actual encounters have been reported. So trying to dig up stories on these motherfuckers was hard as hell because there's only like 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hit up the folklore, okay? The manananggal, or the tick-tick, as it's called because of the sound that it makes, it is said that it uses this sound to confuse their intended victims, but it also may represent a form of bat-like sonar, which they use to secure their prey during their nocturnal raids. So, these blood-frenzied beasts assume the form of a beautiful woman with huge boobs. Shit.
Huh.
Leathery wings. They have huge leathery wings. Okay. Now the manananggal roots the lower half of her body into the ground and then detaches her torso in order to take flight in search of new quarry. So imagine for a second, like, you're out in the rice paddies or, whatever people do in the Philippines. They're out late at night, and all of a sudden you just see this shape and it like skyrockets from the ground and bam, just crashes in. and then you hear this like horrible like tearing noise, and then you just see a pair of legs with a bloody stump just hanging out of the ground,
Ugh.
and then the rest of it's flying off, like, you know, guts hanging out of it, boobs, wings, and it's flying off. That is the tick tick.
Weird.
Yeah. Now, the tick tick is notorious for its thirst for human fetuses, especially the hearts, which it bores out of the womb of the mothers with its proboscis-like tongue. So it basically attacks pregnant women and shoves its tongue down into, you know, where the fetus is, and rips out the little baby's hearts and like munches on it.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Now, in a pinch, if it can't find pregnant women, you know, adult blood will do it, but it prefers the other.
Jeez.
Yeah. Now, there's some similarities between that and the European vampire because it hates garlic and salt. And another similarity that they share with Western vampires is the fact that they were allegedly human before being infected by another tick. And it says here that how can you become a tick, right?
They say dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Yeah. Dress to impress, ladies. Okay. So, according to Filipino legend, one can become a tick by consuming a black baby chicken that was raised inside the throat of another of their ilk. So, I guess, like, if you find a tick and reach inside his throat and pull out this black baby chick, and they're like, dude, this is like a fucking treat right here. This is amazing, and pop it in your mouth. You will turn into a tick.
Wow.
Now, if I catch you doing this, Shawn, I will have to hang you upside down till you vomit the parasitic chicken back up. That's the only way you're getting out of it, okay?
Okay.
Now, if I want to kill you, what I have to do is I have to find your lady parts that are stuck in the ground, and I have to smear ash and salt on it. That way, when the rest of you, the top half, wants to rejoin, it can't because you're allergic to salt and ash. So when the sun comes up, because you're not whole, like magical rays of sunshine, you return back to your human form.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to, like, you know, do the whole stake in the heart thing. You know, you don't have to kill you. You just, you know, spread some salt and ash on the wound, and you'll basically turn back into a human.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So the night flyer, right?
Yes.
There's only been one kind of known sighting for this. I dug up another one, but the main one with the night flyer was that according to 3 Marines in Vietnam, so 1969, they're on guard duty near Da Nang, which is in South Vietnam. You know, they're out late at night, and they sighted a group of creatures, the likes of which had never been seen before. The U.S. Marines claimed they had seen 3 unclothed, hair-covered feminine figures, approximately 5 feet tall, flying over their post in the dead of night. They further claimed that they could hear the leathery flapping of their membranous wings as the fur-covered females soared above. Now, most people say that this is a bunch of shit, that these guys were probably smoking, you know, the jungle grass, and the fact that they'd been, you know, out in the jungle for so long and hadn't had any, you know, feminine contact, that, you know, they saw, you know, hallucinated, or they just saw these birds and are like, damn, them fucking birds are looking good. Now, Don Worley, who was a student in the unknown, he decided to write a book about it, and interviewed him, and said that you know, he swears that these guys are reliable, and that the event that they witness is beyond the capacity of his imagination. And so this was, you know, the recanting of the tale from one of the soldiers. All of a sudden, I don't know why, we all 3 looked up into the sky, and we saw this figure coming toward us. It had kind of a glow, and we couldn't make it out. It started coming toward us real slowly, and all of a sudden we saw what looked like wings, like a bat. Only it was gigantic compared to what a regular bat would be. After it got close enough, we could see what it was. It was like a woman. A naked woman,
Bow
yeah.
chicka wow wow.
She was black. Her skin was black. Her body was black. The wings were black. Everything was black. But it glowed. It
Sounds like an edgelord.
glowed in the night. Kind of a greenish cast, actually. There was a glow on her and around her. Everything glowed. Looked like she glowed and threw off a radiance. We saw her arms toward the wings, and they looked like regular molded arms, each with a hand and fingers and everything. But they had this skin from the wings going over them, and then she flapped her wings. There was no noise at first. It looked like her arms didn't even have any bones because they were limber just like a bat. She started going over us, and we still didn't hear anything. She was right above us, and when she got over the top of our head, she was maybe 6 feet or 7 feet up. We couldn't do anything. We just froze. We just watched. So we watched her go straight up over the top of us, and still she didn't make any noise flapping those wings. She bottled up to the moon once. That's how close she was to us. And we watched her. She got about 10 feet or so away from us, and it sounded, like regular wings flapping, and then she started flying off, and we watched her for quite a while. But you know what? The rest of this is just bullshit, because it goes on about that he just basically looked at this black woman with wings for like 3 or 4 minutes and was just amazed. All right. So, other than folklore, that's the only known actual account of the night flyer. However, a decade earlier in Japan, a Air Force pilot, Sinclair Taylor, on duty, saw a giant winged man-like being descend toward him. It hovered near him, looking intently at his direction. The being was about 7 feet tall, so a little bit bigger than the women. And the panicked guard started firing his weapon, but when he looked back at the spot where the being was hovering, it had vanished. And that's it. That's as far as like actual accounts. Yeah. There's no other accounts. So I'm gonna digress for like a couple minutes, and I'm gonna bring this all home. Okay.
Okay, you do you, boo.
Let's
I'm
do
gonna
it.
do me. So originally I was gonna interview my dad because he was over in Vietnam, right? And he's always telling me all these like crazy weird ass stories. And as
Props
I'm
to
doing
your
the
dad,
research,
man.
huh?
Props to your dad
Yeah, thanks.
in the service.
So as I was reading all these stories about these creatures, something resonated with me from the stories that my dad told. Now, when he was over in Vietnam and he was actually on jungle patrols, when they got deep into the jungle and they would like hide up in bushes and things like that, and they would secure the area, there were these bugs that were very territorial, so they would make a noise. And once they got adjusted to the soldiers being there, they would kind of shut up. But then if the Viet Cong were coming through, they would start going ape shit again. And my dad called them the "fuck you" bugs because, like, here in the United States, like the cicadas, kind of that like in the summertime when they're rubbing their wings together.
Yeah.
Well, over there, those bugs made a noise that really sounded like "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." So dad called them the "fuck you" bugs, right? And so that was an actual creature, but he didn't. His language, his ability to describe it was, he was trying to give it a name that you would understand what he was talking about. So when he said, hey, it made a noise like "fuck you," you could kind of imagine that in your head. And so I'm like, well, maybe these reports aren't all bullshit, because the natives gave it names like the tick tick because that's the noise that it made. Or in Java, they called it the Ahool because it made like a ahoo, ahoo noise. So I'm like, maybe there's some credence to this. And then what do they call the miniature Bigfoot over there? The orang pendek or pandake. Anyways, the little midget Bigfoot. So all these soldiers had these reports of these like little midget Bigfoots that would like throw shit up at the helicopters. And so Dad was guarding a village one night, and he said, at nighttime when you're looking for the enemy patrol, like when there's snipers and the enemy are like trying to hide out, you would look for the whites of the eyes. And so they're kind of surveying the area, and up in the white eyes, like they could see the whites of these eyes. So Dad's like,
Wow.
Tango Charlie 10, we need to firebomb the area 10 degrees north. And like just fucking, shit was going off like the 4th of July. Like, Dad basically blew those trees up like I blew that hole in that one game that one night, right? There was like a giant crater the next morning.
Yeah.
And so they're like, you got to go out there and see if you find any bodies and blah, blah, blah. And so when they got to the spot to where they'd blown the shit out of everything, he found these small, like 3 foot, 4 foot mangled bodies. And he got the villagers to come out, and they were like, "Oh yeah, those are the little people." And he's like, "What?" And their language, the way that they could describe it, they just called them the ugly monkeys or the ugly monkey people. Like they didn't have words like we do, like orangutan
Right.
and things like that. Like we would describe it more like an orangutan, but to them they were just like hairy midget people.
They called the Vietnamese Bigfoot were called
Wow.
Batut-tuts.
Oh, okay, well there you go. And so there was another author, and I don't have his name. Some of the reports, they say it's like a cross between like a bat and a monkey. And if you go over to Africa, it's called the Kungmato. And it's described the same way, right? It's a cross between like a bat and a monkey. And so he's trying to find this elusive creature, and he never finds it. And he starts to come to the realization that the reason why they're describing it like that is because that's their only point of reference. They don't have any other words to describe it. So he goes back to Africa, and he starts showing them all these different pictures. So he shows them a picture of like like a big fruit back from India, and they're like, no, that's not it. And he shows them all these different pictures of different species of monkeys, and they're like, no, that's not it. So then he shows them a picture of a pterodactyl, and they're like, yeah, that's the Kungamato. That's it. That's the bat monkey. And he's like, wait a minute. That's not a bat monkey. That's a fucking dinosaur, you idiots. So then he goes back over to Java and was like, hey guys, come here. And shows them the picture of the pterodactyl. And they're like, yeah, that's the Ahool. So this light bulb went off in my head that maybe what these people are really seeing is a prehistoric dinosaur.
Oh wow, yeah. Because there are tons of sightings of people seeing pterodactyls all over the place.
All over the place.
Weird.
Even here in the United States. The bat squatch.
You don't
could
fuck
be
with
nothing
Pangaea?
more than a pterodactyl.
Huh. So I want to still picture them as the vampire ladies off of Van Helsing.
Oh yeah.
That's not, I mean, pterodactyls are cool, but they're not nearly as sexy as, topless chicks with vampire wings.
Yeah, they glow. They have a green glow to them.
Yeah, I mean, you picture it the way you want to picture it, Preston. That's fine. Damn. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I'd never looked up the Vietnamese flying whatchamacallits. But yeah, that's nuts, man. You told me like that shit just like went spiraling around and around and around and got nuttier and nuttier. So
Yeah.
But what did you say earlier about like they separate themselves from their legs into like bloody stumpy torsos?
Yeah, so like, imagine, so the tic-tac, imagine, right above your pubic area, like they detach right there. So it's basically like their lady parts and their legs are like stuck in the ground and like blood squirting out all over the place. And then the rest of them from like the navel area on up flies off, and they're like, like attacking people.
Weird. Now, what do those stumpy legs do? Just like fall over or just stand there tapping their foot impatiently?
Because they're like stuck in the ground. Like when they land, like the force like plants them in the ground. They're like stuck in there.
Gotcha. I thought maybe they just stood there like,
No.
come on, tapping their foot impatiently. Oh, dude. Well, the Batut-tut over there, the Vietnamese Bigfoot, they were so rapidly reported that what was his name? The general of North Vietnam, Minh Thao. He actually requested several expeditions to go out and find evidence and try to capture one of them because of all the Vietnamese soldiers reporting seeing those, and the U.S. soldiers too, reportedly seeing like these weird, diminutive Bigfoot type creatures. Didn't your dad say something about like the rock apes or something like that?
I just told you that story. That's what he blew up in the trees that one night.
Oh, okay. We'll cut that part out.
Yeah.
I was reading about
Johnny
the Batut-tut.
Vietnam blew up the rock apes, okay?
There you go.
Casualties of war, people.
Hell yeah. Cool. Well, hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
I like
a lot more
that.
crazy
I
shit
like
than
that
I was
story.
expecting.
I just think that's really cool that that you have that tie-in because your dad told you that story. That's really rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, dude. I'm still thinking we
I
should
mean,
do
if
an
fuck
episode
you
about
bugs
your dad.
exist, then the tick has to be out there.
Yeah, I think so, dude. And the fuck you bugs.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah. Well, guys, I say we go ahead and tie it off there unless you have anything else to add on.
I'm good.
I think that's pretty
Nope, let's
solid.
put some salt and ash on it and call it a day.
Right. Shit, yeah. All right, guys. Well, next time around, we will jump into that Jersey Devil on the second episode we drop towards the end of October. Now, are we going to go ahead and do a Halloween episode, guys? Should we do a bonus Halloween episode?
If it was, I don't know, because we have to. I was gonna wrap up for the end of the wrap up show. We're gonna be down in Rob's neck of the woods for Halloween for the charity stream, and I know we're gonna probably do a round table down there. I would assume. I hope. There should be no reason why we shouldn't, because we'll have all four of us. Well, not including Preston, unfortunately, but it'll be Corey, myself, Shawn, and Rob. So that would be a perfect time for some kind of round table. It doesn't have to be paranormal; it's just be us just talking, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we also need to set up with Leslie and John the CD Trade Post live show this year.
Oh yeah,
this
local
year,
live show
this
we're
month.
gonna do.
Yeah, and she said that we can do that whenever, so we really need to get on that and figure out a night that can work for all three of us, so we can go down there and do that. That way they can get that promoted and stuff like that. And she's gonna make bomb-ass lasagna, which is dope.
Boom, shakalaka.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe with the schedule, I didn't think about the trip. Maybe Jersey Devil. Maybe we'll continue to do cryptids through November then, because there's still a couple more cool things I want to get to. We're kind of reaching a crescendo of awesome stories, so maybe we end up going a little farther then, and we'll do a couple more throughout November. But yeah, but who knows, guys? There could be some special stuff dropping unannounced on in October still, so don't count that out. So all right, cool. Anything you guys want to plug?
Waiting on the plug.
Of course.
For show. I want to plug our Extra Life charity. Can't remember if we decided on a name or whatever, but I know Shawn's been busy with other graphic design opportunities lately. But we're going to have, I think, possibly a new logo for that. Also a new logo for the show coming soon as well. And so once we get the official Extra Life charity page set up, we'll share that. We'll continue to share that in the show notes on the page, everything like that. And what it is this year we're doing it at the end of this month, where we game for 24 hours. It'll be myself, Shawn, Rob, and Corey, and we will play video games to raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Nice.
Cannot wait for that. And so yeah, if you see the page, check it out. Donate if you can. If not, just share, or just drop by and hit us up on the Facebook stream when that goes down. Cannot wait. It's going to be fun.
Hell yeah. And we'll be promoting that across all of our social medias come closer to that time. So, hell yeah. And then something else that we need to mention too, I wanted to drop a little bit about this earlier last episode, but guys, you still have time when this episode drops. If you live in or around the Wichita area, we're deep into WBS Horror Fest 2018 at the Wichita Old Town Warren. They are showing some really badass horror movies throughout the month of October. And this will drop
badass the most, not so much to Shayla or Aaron.
Right, yeah, badass best. Monday and Tuesday, October 15th and 16th, you can check out the 4K restoration of Reanimator, showing at 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Only $5 plus tax per showing. Monday, October 22nd, one night only, the original Hills Have Eyes, 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, $5. Tuesday, October 23rd, a sweet, sweet double feature, The Changeling and Chud, $10 for two amazing movies, starts at 7. And then, guys, if you do one thing, Steven and I are going to miss this. Preston, maybe you can still go. Leaf, the gentleman who's responsible for all this horror goodness has been fighting tooth, nail, claw, tentacle. Monday and Tuesday, October 29th and 30th, the original Dawn of the Dead will be shown in 3D. And apparently it is... words don't do it justice how great this 3D version restoration of this movie is going to be.
I wish.
And Leaf fought really hard to get this. It's really an amazing feat that Wichita is going to get it because it's not very widely released at all. So definitely, guys, check that stuff out. Do yourself a favor and go watch at least one of these. Hell, watch them all. That'd be awesome. But sweet ass sweet. Presto, what you got? What you plugging?
As always, need a beard, want to grow a leathery bat face beard, check out BigDobsBeardBomb.com. And I never remember our promo code, so Shawn's going to give that to you.
Use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your entire order. And Presto, what is my favorite race car podcast in the entire world?
Sports Cars Unleashed.
Boom shakalaka. Check that out. If you like cars and racing them, you got to check out Rich and the gang and check out their podcast. I heard it's great and I love it. And also check out Mark's Solocast, the Pixelated Sausage Show. He's got all sorts of good stuff on there for you guys to put in your ear holes as well. And big thanks to Mark. Without him, we wouldn't be in your guys' ears right now as we speak. So.
And I'd like to give a special shout out to John Hammond for doing the Dover Demon with us this evening. You get back to Jurassic Park.
No, I was like, who are you talking? Ah, now it clicked.
Yeah, Steve's
clicked.
rocking an amazing Jurassic Park hat right now.
Yeah, Aaron got this for me for my birthday. I fucking love it. It's so good.
Yeah, I think you should wear it for every episode.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing.
Right.
So. Yeah, hell yeah. And a big shout out to all of our new listeners, all of our new followers on Instagram. It is a small feat, but it should be mentioned we have gone all the way to 50 followers on Instagram. That truly is a feat all on its own. 51, guys. 51. I think only 2 of those are robots. So that's pretty sweet.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Keep your eyes peeled for special stuff throughout this month. You never know, and we might drop you a trick or a treat. Steve-O.
See the alien?
Oh, above you. That's nice. Awesome. Hell yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time around.
All right. Later, guys.
Peace.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. You have 2 ways. 1, email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, we have that set up too. Dial us at 707-523-4263. Again, that's 707-523-4263. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Will do. Would it be possible if I take a piss real quick?
On camera, yes.
You guys can
Let me see your dick.
put a marker down when you know when you know.
Whatever. Let's keep it running. We'll just
Okay.
keep the recordings running, and I'll just cut it.
All right, I'll be right back. Preston, no peeking.